Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. I'm your host, Amanda, and my amazing co host is.
Hello, I'm Megan.
So, hey, we are your source for messy, today's especially messy, real life, unfiltered homeschool advice and community. There's no perfection filter happening over here where we portray eternal sunshine and rainbows, even if I am perpetually silver lining looking, searching. But we do love homeschooling, right? And we absolutely love doing life with our respective offspring, but you're going to get the unvarnished homeschool vibes here.
Yeah, true story. I mean, have you seen this trend on social media, this We Do Not Care Club? It started with women, like middle-aged women, and now it's kind of spawned into other groups. Have you seen any of those at all?
I have seen a few. I haven't done anything with it. I was like, what is this? And I clicked it and read a couple to try to get an understanding. So I know of it, but I'm not participating.
Yeah, I mean, some of the groups are public, so I was seeing it in my news feed and on Facebook, and so I just decided to join one. And one of the membership questions asks you to confirm that you're peri or postmenopausal, and I love it because for the most part, it's just this big group of women who are shedding societal BS, and it's just awesome. Like I'm too old to be hanging out with people who are putting on airs, and like I just don't have time for BS. Life is too busy, so it's been kind of an interesting trend. I've enjoyed this one.
Yeah, no, totally. It actually reminds me, I just sent out the newsletter for the Patreon group, like anyone who's a member. And in there, I was talking about the fact that your books that you read would be perfectly acceptable to sit and read them on public transit or in a park. And my books are not necessarily perfectly acceptable for that. Not because I care, right? Not because I don't want you to know that I'm reading these books. I'm totally fine with that. But I am still around a lot of younger kids, and the covers are not really PG on a lot of them, right? Like they definitely make you think that yeah, and I'm not having those conversations with other people's kids. So it is definitely not that I care. I'm just trying to generally be respectful. If your kid's like, what are you reading? Why is there a naked man on your book? You know,
It's an anatomy book. I'm preparing for our upcoming anatomy lesson.
yeah. Yep. Okay. So, it's that thing. None of us really have time for the BS, but you know what we do have time for? Political activism. And honestly, I'm tired, right? And it's not just the normal tired. For me right now, it's 100% that chronic illness tired that leaves you randomly falling asleep throughout the day. The other day I was standing in the kitchen waiting for my tea to finish in the microwave, and I microwave my tea for a minute and 31 seconds because I'm weird like that. That extra 1 second really matters in my world. And I fell asleep standing at the counter waiting for my tea. I'm that exhausted. But this shit is not okay. It doesn't matter how exhausted I am. I'm still going to make time to make those calls and to send letters and postcards and just be involved, right? So I'm going to be happy that our protest signs are still kick ass because I don't have the energy right now to make new ones. But we will definitely be using those signs to show up for the next big protest, which, if you haven't heard yet, is October 18th. It just kind of came out in the last week or two that they're doing another big No King's Day, this time part 2. So definitely mark your calendars and join us in saying, we're not okay with the constant dismantling of democracy in America, full stop. If you can attend, awesome. If not, at least have a conversation with your kiddos, download our coloring sheet and use that as a jumping off point. Post some stuff on social media and make sure that the people in your circle know that not only are you not okay with some things, but that you agree with these people who are marching for democracy, and really underline that, right? This isn't that we're marching against the United States. It's that we're marching for the Constitution and for all of the things the United States is supposed to stand for in theory. And now, yes, we didn't do a good job of implementing the vast majority of it in the 1700s when we first got going, but we're working towards that, right? That's what we're all here hoping for. So please no matter how tired you are, try to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. We had protests in Portugal. We had the hands off and we had no King's Day. So I haven't seen one put out yet for October, but I'm hoping it's coming because they have to get permits and stuff like that to be able to hold the protests. And that'll take time in Portugal. So it's probably coming. It's just not official yet. So, but we will need new signs. We went for pizza the last time and ours got thoroughly trashed because they got like shoved in a booth while we ate pizza. So I would assume that it'll be there. But yeah, to your point, we have a free No King's Day coloring page in our Teachers Pay Teacher shop. Totally free. We'll link it in the comments. You don't have to buy anything. It's a free download. And it's just a great way to foster discussion with your kids about current events, human rights, and so much more. So we'll link it, head over, download it. And like Amanda said, if you're being vocal and you decide to share your coloring page, tag us. We always love to see the kiddos' creativity come to life. It's super nice.
Yeah, no, totally. It's always fun, like, especially if you tag us and you let us know that you're okay with us resharing it. We would be super happy to
Mhm.
reshare it and let other people see you all getting involved in your own homes. Okay, so we this week in the next few weeks, right? We are getting a bit back to the basics around here at Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. It is the start of the school year in many countries, and as always, the homeschool community is growing by leaps and bounds, which, look, we love. We think it's amazing. We want to help support people. We have lots of avenues for that. But the podcast is a great kind of entry point for a lot of newbies. And so we're going to go ahead and get back to the basics, but also keep in mind that if you're not a newbie and you've been around either just homeschooling or here at Homeschool Moms, a lot of these things can serve as a good reminder for returning homeschoolers and even the real veterans, right? You know, sometimes those core skills and concepts of just homeschooling and making it the right fit for your family, they can serve as awesome reminders when, you know, you're in the weeds and sometimes you just kind of forget the big picture.
Yeah, so true. I'm loving this back to basics too. It's been really fun. So today we're talking about all-in-one options. When are they a solid option? And what are some of the pitfalls that come with a one-stop online platform or an open and go box, like everything you need for fourth grade, and you open it and you're like, okay, we're ready to go. So we're going to be digging into that today from all perspectives. So yeah, let's go. But first, we begin our episodes with a weekly update. It's part of our keeping it real vibe around here. So aside from being too tired to make a cup of tea, when you talk about that, it makes me think of first trimester pregnancy levels of exhaustion. I remember being in a meeting one time and being like, I think my eyes are open, but I also think I'm like very much asleep. But I think people can tell, like, you have to re-enter your body or somebody's going to notice, right? And so when you talk about your that's like the only thing that I have that can even like maybe kind of relate, you know? And so, because I could totally have pictured myself falling asleep making a cup of tea during first trimester exhaustion. But aside from your level of exhaustion, what's new in your world, Amanda?
Yeah, you know, I've had the weekend to recuperate some. If we'd had this conversation last week, it would have been a very different conversation because I was like constantly on the verge of tears and a meltdown because I was just so exhausted and barely hanging on by my fingernails. So, you know, like we dove into our kind of new academic year. And for us, it's a pretty big transition. I didn't necessarily mean it to be, but we've talked about this before. My kiddo's, you know, officially in middle school now. And it just kind of happened that most of our courses are now an hour long each day for reasons beyond our control. And trying to fit that in and trying to be the present, active mom that I want to be while also having absolutely no patience. We did a whole bunch of things yesterday. And then I was completely overwhelmed and overstimulated, and I just needed quiet last night, and I did not get quiet, and my family didn't realize how much quiet I needed until I absolutely completely lost it and was, like, screaming like a raging banshee, you know, like, have you ever had those, like, my brain literally cannot handle another freaking question?" Like, you know, and they were all well-intentioned. "Do you want more rice? Do you want me to give you this? Do you want this kind of sauce or this kind of sauce?" So please, for the love of God, be quiet. But I slept well last night. I have this one particular medication that I can increase to a certain level and it helps. And then I taper off of it, I back off of it, and then I can go back up on it again. And it helps a lot. And so I had actually started that over the weekend as like I need to level out for a week and then I'll taper off and start the process again to help get me through the next hump. But yeah, so I don't even know. I'm not even sure what I have going on this week. I'm just here. I'm hoping for a lot less yelling and significantly fewer tears this week. And yeah, that's where I'm at these days. So
I wish you luck.
how about you? Thank you.
Well, I cried before we started recording tonight. It's been a while since I've shown up to record crying. Usually I just own it and I'm like, whatever, we'll start. And if my eyes look red and glossy, then they look red and glossy. We've had a week, right? So the internet went out at our accommodation last week. Today's like the end of today will make 7 full days since the internet went out. And it was just one of these things where every day it was like tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. So like you're holding on because in the beginning you're believing it. Then by Friday, I was like, I'm not believing this anymore. But then nothing happens in Europe on the weekend, nothing. So then you're completely screwed. Okay, fine. So then that was 2 more days and, all of that. So then today we moved accommodation. We're here for 3 more days before we go back home to Portugal. And we moved accommodation. And before I made the booking, I called the place to confirm that they had high-speed Wi-Fi, that it was in all the rooms, because sometimes it's just in the common area or whatever too, like it's
Yeah.
only in the lobby and it doesn't reach the rooms, right? This is not the US, so you have to check these things. And they were like, yes, yes, yes. And we get here and there's no Wi-Fi. I mean, I'm not talking poor Wi-Fi. I'm talking no Wi-Fi in our room and only 1 bar of cell service in our room. So I'm downstairs right now because that's the only place there's Wi-Fi. And like, I can't even like text the kids when they're in the room to like check on them or anything. So we got here today and I have the feeling we'll be leaving after we finish podcasting. So I'm just afraid. The kids are afraid. Like when everything you do is like 10 steps instead of just like 1 basic step, and it's been 7 straight days of this, like kind of done. The London Underground is on strike. So getting anywhere is really hard right now. Like everything is just hard right now. Right. And I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home and I just want to be in my own space and use my own fiber freaking internet. And that's that. But aside from that, it's been okay. My daughter and I went to see Les Miserables last week, which is like my favorite play of all time. So that was good. We shopped till we dropped while we were here. We didn't spend a ton of money, but like just being out and about and like touching and feeling all the things and whatever. And just some things that she doesn't have access to in Portugal. Like she needed new jeans. All her jeans were too big. And so like we ordered those. She wears the short, where it's like 2S instead of 2R. And so they don't have those in the store most of the time. So she had to order them and have them shipped before we go back to Portugal and stuff like that. So yeah, we've just been busy. But I did manage, even with crap Wi-Fi, to finish working on the September unit study with Amanda. So that was fun. And given your exhaustion and my frayed at the edges situation, we went with something fun this month. So our unit study for this month is all about the history of pizza. And there's a whole thing in there to have like a family pizza night. There's like a hoot, there's games, there's all different ways to make pizza night amazing, biochemistry associated with pizza dough. It's all there. So if you don't get our unit studies, you can check in the show notes. But that was fun. At least we got that done this week, even though I was like barely hanging on by a thread in the world of internet. So yeah. It is what it is. I'm done. I want to go home. But other than that, I'm fine.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think that's like part of the thing that I'm sure people at hotels don't really understand because for the most part, they're young people working, but like you're there world schooling. So not only do you need to be able to work using the Wi-Fi, but your kids need to be able to do their classes and call in for things. And some stuff is mandatory attendance type things. And some stuff is more just they're going to fall behind if they aren't there for this. And they would rather be in the class actually participating than watching the video afterwards. And trying to manage all of that for three people instead of even just one. And then I mean, the underground, right? I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's fine. Just, don't use the subway. It's not a big deal. But like a huge percentage of the population uses the subway. So when all of those people are now on the road, no one is
Yeah.
going anywhere. Not even fast, just not going anywhere. Get out and
Yeah.
walk. So yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. It's been a challenge, right? I mean, yeah, like my kiddo is taking class in the same room where we're recording right now because the people, at least at our accommodation, were nice enough to be like, use this conference area, right? Instead of being in the lobby since the Wi-Fi in our room isn't working. So he's in here with me because he takes 2 hours of math and he's taking AP statistics. Like he needs quiet and he needs to be able to focus. He gets really stressed if it's, out there and whatever. And so it's, yeah, to your point, it's a lot, right? And the traffic has been insane because more people are driving and the bus is packed, which is like a sensory overload situation, which if you have a kiddo who, deals with that sort of stuff, like because everybody's on the bus because the trains aren't running. And like, I'm all for unions and strikes. I hope they get what they're asking for. They work super hard, like go rock on. I'm super happy for you. But it's just like a layer cake of what else could go wrong in Megan's week this week. So, we're there, but it's okay. We're working on it. It's gonna be okay.
That's my line. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Everything is okay. Everything's fine. It's fine. Okay. So all in one options, right? Look, we remember being new to homeschool and we both absolutely started with some variation of all in one something or other, right? So we get it. We totally get it. It is so freaking overwhelming. And look, you just don't want to fail your kids, right? And this idea of an all in one, it's like it's a natural baby step into homeschooling. So again, we 100% get the appeal. That said, number one, first, okay, before we say anything else, we've said it before and we'll say it again. If you need to pull your child and this is your only way to pull it off for whatever reason, there's no judgment from us. Okay. It might not be that way forever. And you can, and honestly, you probably will evolve into something else over time. And that's a great thing. If you're pulling them and you need to prove that they're enrolled in something else and you don't yet understand how to do that locally, or there's so many other, and this is an all-in-one is the thing that makes it possible to protect your kiddo in a moment where you just really need to make a hard decision and protect them and you don't want truancy issues or whatever else. I was like, right, we're not here to judge that. But as your bigger overall homeschooling philosophy, an all-in-one is really less than ideal. And if you don't understand why, definitely go back and listen to like many, many, many of our episodes. You can ask in one of your local groups. You'll get plenty of people who will tell you like, well, you'll get half the people who will be like, oh, I love Mia Academy. Para Homeschool is amazing. And then you'll have all the others that are like, please don't listen to those newbies.
But not even, I mean, there's a couple, especially in the North Carolina homeschool group, there's people who were like, I graduated my kids off Acellus and they're great and they're not newbies. And I mean, we've talked about Acellus before. Acellus is an ethical train wreck. It's a dumpster fire of a program. Even if you're going to use an all-in-one for the reasons Amanda just mentioned, there are better programs out there. So it's not even just newbies sometimes, but it's just people who have a different standard perhaps, or different goals or different thresholds, whatever their mainstay is. I don't know, but I wouldn't use Power Homeschool if it was the only option there was from an ethical perspective and everything else. Like, no, thank you. We'll go to the library. We'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's it. And if you have a question about like, maybe you are in that small group that we're like, it's not ideal big picture, but if you need something for right now, we did back last fall, we did a whole thing where it wasn't just us evaluating them as parents. We had our kiddos sit down and actually do a bunch of programs as well and give us their review and feedback. And we kind of picked some of our favorites that we thought were, ethical and well balanced and well rounded and all of those kinds of things. And so if you've got any questions about like where to start with that, since you were like, oh, I was kind of thinking about Power Homeschool or Mia Academy, like go check out those episodes. It's two because it ended up being way too much to put in just one episode, but go listen to that. There are options. And we're not saying all online stuff is bad. We've talked about this many, many times before. We both absolutely use online programs for different things. At different times, those have maybe been the only thing that we've used for a little while, right? In that a little stopgap or something like that. Like, we're not saying online stuff is bad. We're just saying that with homeschooling, you have the ability to do so much more. So let's talk about how to do so much more than just that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to guess that when you've decided to homeschool, whether you sat down and created a list or not, you had reasons why you chose to homeschool. It wasn't like you just woke up one day and was like, I can't make one more peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so I'm going to homeschool now. There were reasons behind this. And a lot of times those reasons, I mean, they vary. It could be safety, it could be medical things, it could be all kinds of stuff. But somewhere in the mix, most people usually have quality of education on their hierarchy somewhere of reasons to homeschool. And so that might be that you're looking for more differentiated learning for your kiddo. It might be something neurodivergent affirming that you're seeking. I'm in this ADHD parenting group on Facebook that I just recently joined. Oh my gosh, what a train wreck. Like, I know not everyone can homeschool. We've talked about it. We did a whole episode on how homeschooling is privilege and et cetera, et cetera. So I get that not every, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, can you please pull your poor children from school? Because like, it's awful for these kids, for these kids. It's just awful. So if that's on your list, I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm there. Right. If you're looking for more engaging learning, if you're looking to respark your kids' curiosity, all of these things, right? Whatever your reasoning, your why for homeschooling, we're going to guess that an all-in-one probably isn't going to align with those things long term. And we've talked about defining your why in some of our previous episodes. We talk about it heavily in our online courses. There's a worksheet for defining your why. We give some examples of what that might look like for you. But really, if you were sitting there going, oh yeah, differentiated learning. Yes, that's what I want, right? That it's not a one size fits all education. Unfortunately, the all-in-one is just the one size fits all, but at home, whether it's out of a box or whether it's online. And so you're not getting that. You're not getting the neurodivergent affirming. You're not getting engaging learning in a lot of cases and things like that because it's one size fits all. It is as cookie cutter as it gets for the most part.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want to be doing differentiated learning. To your point about the neurodiversity affirming learning and environment, I see that in my local groups all the time too, where you're just like, I know you're trying to find the best thing for your kiddo, and I'm not sure how like continuing to try to force this terrible situation to somehow get better. Like, I don't, like, oh man. Again, like we said, if you need to pull your kid out and you need to do some kind of an all-in-one thing while you just figure out what in the world you've done, and you're like, I might have just made the biggest mistake ever. I think I can do this at home. Like, here, do this online program. Like, look, we get it, right? Like, we are not here to throw stones. Deciding to homeschool can be a huge WTF moment, and that's okay. But just keep in mind that once you get past the initial WTF, there's something beyond all-in-one programs. And it really is worth doing a little bit of time and research on.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk more about all of this different stuff. So don't panic. But if you were about to hit buy now on a lifetime membership from Mia Academy, or, buy now on your all-in-one fourth grade in a box type thing, or you were thinking about using Power Homeschool and you were like, oh crap, now what am I supposed to do? Do not stress. We have, as Amanda said earlier, resources, oodles of resources. Amanda gets together one-on-one with people to help pick curriculum. We have an online course that teaches you how to evaluate curriculum based upon your kiddo, their learning needs, your homeschooling philosophy, your overall goals. So if you're like, okay, well, you've just shot holes in my plan, like Swiss cheese, right? Like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? We're not going to leave you high and dry. We have tons of stuff. Hit up the show notes. There's links to our online courses. There's links to Patreon. There's links to coaching. There's links to all of this stuff for you to be able to customize your kiddo's education if you'd like more support on that. And the easiest route to do that truly is the course. Amanda's got checklists in there. And I say Amanda because if you're new to the podcast, I'm not a curriculum user. We're unschoolers, but Amanda is like curriculum queen. So Amanda's got all sorts of resources in there about how she evaluates curriculum. What are the questions she's asking herself? Hitting costs. I mean, all that kind of stuff, right? So we're not going to leave you high and dry by just being like, don't use all in one forever. And then being like, we're out of here. Have a great day. Goodbye. So we have plenty of resources. Don't stress.
Good luck.
Yeah.
No, that's not our vibe. I mean, obviously, we do wish you luck in making it work for your family, but we are very happy to help you along that way. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the nice thing too, is like if you're listening and you want to go all in on curriculum, the curriculum course is great for that. But if you're just like, I don't want to go all in on curriculum, I really like whatever program we're using, but I do realize that my kiddo is more advanced in science. We have loads of resources and options and suggestions for things to check into for kind of like each subject. And that's kind of one of those other things that is really hard with an all-in-one program, because almost every single kid is an asynchronous learner. Okay. So, like, and I like to think about you as an adult. Are you good at all jobs? Could you go out and just pick up any job and be like, I am equally good at all things? No, you probably have a couple things that you're extra good at, and you work in that field. And then even when you have a job, it's not like I am equally good at all aspects of my job. I am a rock star at everything I'm expected to do. Like, no, you have strengths within your role and you have areas of weakness within your role, or even just areas that maybe they're not a weakness, but I really hate having to do these reports that I have to do. Like I know I have to do them, but I really hate doing them. And if there's anything I could take off of my job list, it would be those things. It is the same for your kids. Kids are better at some things and not as good at others. Like that's just human nature. And so it's a little strange that we still continue to think like, well, all kids should be at this exact same spot in everything. They should all be doing, it's just not realistic. But the glory of homeschooling, right? Like truly the biggest benefit of homeschooling is that if they're strong in vocabulary or math, you can let them work at whatever level provides a good amount of challenge, even if it is technically 3 grade levels ahead of where they would be, quote unquote, in public school. And if writing is a struggle, go back a couple grade levels and start with the fundamentals in a fun way, and keep going over the fundamentals until you find a way that works for your kiddo. It does not matter if they are in 6th or 7th grade and you're still working at a 2nd or 3rd grade level trying to find a way to write a good paragraph that works for your kid, that they're like, "Oh, I get it. I understand what I'm supposed to do." As long as you're working towards that point where they're like, I get it. That's all that matters. Like, grade levels are super arbitrary. And with homeschooling, especially if you set aside the idea of using an all-in-one curriculum, you have the ability to differentiate until your kiddos get it in whatever you're going over, whatever you're teaching. And then you get to work at that. Again, I kind of mentioned it, that challenge point where it's like it provides a little bit of challenge, but it's not too much. It pushes them just a little, but not too much. That's kind of that sweet spot of growth, which we're almost always looking for, especially as we're helping our kids. When you find that, it'll feel amazing, but you're very rarely going to find that with an all-in-one curriculum.
Yeah, because the scope is only so big. It only spans so far in either direction. I mean, the other thing too, like all valid points that you just brought up, but you're talking also from the perspective of meeting them where they're at academically and
Mm.
and making sure that they're challenged in appropriate ways, that they're not floundering or that they're not bored on either end of that spectrum. But the other thing too that you just don't get from that all-in-one option is if you have a kid who's wildly in love with math or science, like, yes, you want to meet them where they're at so that they're not bored and let them accelerate and stuff like that. But from the perspective of preparing them for the world that they're going to launch into as well, if you have a kid, especially as they get older, who loves particular subject matter or a particular area, there's a really good chance that's what they're going to study afterwards, or that's the field they might want to work in later. So why not differentiate too and give them the strongest possible candidacy for whatever they're going to do after the fact? I mean, if you have a kid who loves science and you're like, well, in freshman year we do biology, and then in sophomore year we do chemistry because this is what it is. And these are the
Mhm.
set years. It's like, no, let them go as far and as deep and as wide as they want so that when they rock up to a college interview or an internship interview, whatever it might be, they blow everyone else out of the water because their learning has been differentiated and they've been allowed to go as far and as wide and as deep as they want to, which is totally amazing also beyond the academic need for differentiation. So there's really no downside to customization of the level like you're talking about, I think too.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. And one of the things that we see a lot of times in online groups is parents will come in and they'll say, like, I just don't know what to do this year. Last year, my kiddo finished fifth and sixth grade math, and they were still done 7 months into the school year. So, do I just let him do seventh and eighth grade? And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Why did they finish fifth and sixth grade in your all in one curriculum? Was it because it wasn't challenging enough? And so they moved ahead and just, kept going, and they need something that goes a little deeper or pushes them a little more, something that moves faster? Or is it that they figured out how to game the all-in-one online program? Because that is absolutely, totally 100% a thing. Just like there are test taking skills for how to take a multiple choice test and, if you don't know the answer, pick C. There are all of these strategies. Your kids are not dumb. Your kids are smart. They know how to get through it without actually paying very much attention. And so, like, when you hand everything over to an all-in-one system and then you just run the weekly report and check and make sure that they finish something or whatever, you lose so much understanding of where the disconnect is and whether or not they're actually really getting what you wanted. Like Megan said before, there's that why piece. Why are you homeschooling? And a lot of times when we're overwhelmed and we pick something that we think is going to be an easy solution, we can kind of forget to step back and be like, well, just because it felt easy, like, is it actually the solution I want? Is it actually doing what I want it to do? Like, yeah, it's easy, but it's easy because it's easy, not because it's necessarily good, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that for sure because I worked for 10 years. I worked in corporate pharmaceutical hellscape and I worked in training, but we had two training departments within our company. We were a global pharmaceutical company. And so we had the HR training division and then we had product training division. And I was on the product side, which was great because I loved it because we were in, deep into the chemistry of products and all this kind of stuff. So that was really, really interesting. The HR side of training was the usual stuff that every company does. It was like sexual harassment training and how to spot a phishing email. And so anybody who's worked at a company knows those BS trainings that you have to do, right? They send it out. They're like, everybody has to complete this thing by September 15th. It's mandatory compliance training. You're like, okay, fine. And it's usually some cheesy ass video with a couple of checkpoint questions at the end. And invariably, what do you do during the cheesy ass video? You're either willfully watching something else, like I've got Netflix on at the same time as I'm watching this stupidity, or my brain inadvertently has wandered off onto what I'd rather have for lunch that day or what I'm going to do after work. Then you get to the
Mhm.
checkpoint questions and you kind of guess as best you can. If you can't figure something out, you're like, okay, fine. You go back and you skim and just look for the answers to the questions because now you know what the questions are. So it's like, really, what did you take from this? But you met the compliance standard. You've done the thing. So,
Mhm.
I mean, anybody who's ever had to do those HR trainings, I think like renewals for continuing education credits are super similar to that, where you're like, click, click, click. OutSchool has a thing where to become an ACE educator, you have to do these online classes. And got invited to be an ACE educator. And I mean, the classes had nothing to do with anything related to my job. And they were time consuming, like ridiculously. I was like, I don't need to be an ACE educator. It's fine. All right, I have enough going on in my life beyond that. I just can't be bothered. But that's what it was. It was click this, click this, click that to become an ACE educator. So those things follow you throughout life, but are you really growing from them? Are you really learning from them? Typically, the engagement on stuff like that is super low. The retention on stuff like that is super low. To your point, you can game it, you can fish through and just figure out what you're going to need to pass and move on with your life. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the online stuff is like that. Not all, but a lot.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even good ones, when we did our review, it wasn't it wasn't our first choice, but we both agreed that IXL was pretty good of the options that are out there and that are available. And they have this thing where kids can do a bunch of kind of like assessment, placement type tests, right? And so your kiddo is doing all of these assessments and it's suggesting units to do and things like that. Okay, fine. And because we had done a test with it, and then they also had a Spanish section, and I was interested in that because my kiddo takes Spanish, but I don't speak any Spanish at all. That's not my language. We went ahead and kept it for a little while. And then when we were doing some big travels last year or at the beginning of this year, my kiddo wanted to do more with IXL. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like it's not like it hurts anything. And we didn't bring all of our curriculum textbooks with us in our backpacks. We're not lugging that stuff around. So sure, fine, do some online things and, do some IXL, no problem. He was like, oh, can I do this, 12th grade contracts reading course? Sure. I don't care if you want to do it, go for it. And he did it. He did well on it and he felt great. And then he wanted to do more 12th grade courses and units and things. But then also, because of somewhere he'd left off in the questions, it recommended like a first grade level module for him. Like, this is not, I mean, obviously, right? Like there's a disconnect on what you're getting out of it, right? And I love that he had fun doing contracts at a 12th grade level, whatever, but also he now believes that he's going to be great at evaluating contracts. And I'm sorry, but probably a random module on IXL just for fun didn't fully prepare you for reviewing and writing contracts. Like, so yeah, just that thing. You can game it, you can have fun with it, you can learn some things with it. But your kiddo probably isn't going to get as much out of it as you are hoping they will when you picked this all-in-one option and we're like, this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be so much better than being in public school. We're going to talk a little about online resources in general, but if you are new and you are just getting started and you're listening to this and like, oh, this is some good ideas, I'm going to go back and listen to some other things. Let us also take just a minute to say, kids do not need to learn for 6, 7, or 8 hours a day. When they are in public school, they are not learning that entire time. And when you bring them home, they essentially get one-on-one lessons for everything. So it takes a significantly smaller amount of time. A 50-minute math class where a huge amount of it is the teacher trying to get the kids to sit down and the teacher dividing the kids up into groups and the teacher making sure that they get out the right book and the right notebook and then making sure they all have the right manipulatives at each desk and, doing this and doing that. And then she starts teaching and then she's like, everyone please be quiet. And then she's like, does anyone have the answer? And she's waiting and everyone's looking at each other because no one wants to raise their hand, right? Like the amount of actual teaching that happens in that 50-minute class, it is not the same as what you're going to do at home. And you do not need to do a 50-minute math class to emulate that, because you're going to cover in 15 or 20 minutes more than they covered in their 50-minute block at school, right? So just please also keep that in mind as you are looking at options and moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's a whole lot we can do about that. We'll probably talk about it at some point in the future, because it is important to remember that. That's one of the things we hear people all the time. Well, the all-in-one online thing, like it keeps them busy for several hours a day. Like, and then I still have to do more stuff to hit the number of hours they're supposed to do in a day. Like, well, it's not, it doesn't quite work that way. Even if you're in a state that requires X number of hours a day, there are other ways to do it. We promise.
Mhm.
Now, like I said, and we mentioned it before, right? We absolutely love online resources. We both use online resources with our kiddos. Meagan teaches some online classes. My kiddo's done some of her online classes as well as other ones. We both use OutSchool. We there and as a podcast are generally big fans of Khan Academy. It is solid. It covers all the things and it's free. We love free. There's no reason to spend money on something if you can get a quality resource that works for you for free. If it doesn't work for you, obviously, try something else. But whenever I do a coaching session with someone on curriculum, I'm always like, start with the free option, start with the cheapest option. Because if it works,
Yeah.
fantastic. If it doesn't work, then you try kind of the next thing. But there's no reason throwing like obscene amounts of money at a problem if you don't need to.
Mhm.
Like I said, we generally like IXL, and we can see some value in cherry picking IXL for things. Is it a great all-in-one program? I wouldn't really recommend it as an all-in-one program. Meagan is a big fan of Funcation Academy and recess.gg, right? There are some solid online resources. There truly are. But there is a big difference between going all in with an all-in-one platform and spending day in and day out having your kiddo learn, just sitting online at a computer, going through the things they're supposed to learn for quote unquote third grade or whatever the case may be, and cherry picking or outsourcing strategically. You can 100% use online resources to strategically outsource, whether it's because you don't know the information, your kiddo is officially gone head first into dinosaurs and you didn't even know most dinosaurs had feathers, like outsource that shit. Or maybe you just, like me, I love books. I read all the time and my kiddo loves books and he reads all the time too. So I thought we were going to crush novel studies. And then all we did was yell at each other. Okay. Like novel studies in our home, like bad idea. So I outsourced that nonsense. Let someone else help him figure out how to analyze that text. Like Charlotte's Web could be set on fire in our home. It was a bad idea to try to do a novel study on Charlotte's Web. I can outsource that. There's another teacher out there who is happy to walk my kiddo through that, and he's going to do it with some other kids. They're going to have a great time. He's going to get way more out of it than the two of us yelling at each other about, like, that's not what I understood. I'm not thinking, like, it's not. Yeah. And you laugh because you just recently had my kiddo in a book club. So you know that generally speaking, he's not going to get like that on books unless it's with me.
I was thinking before too, when you said like you're not knowledgeable about dinosaurs and your kid's super interested in dinosaurs. There's also that thing too, where you reach a point as a parent where you're like, I love you. I would lay down in traffic for you. But if you bring up dinosaurs one more fucking time, I'm done. I'm going to run away from home. I'm going to set my hair on fire, run down the street naked, and run away from home. Like, I cannot listen to dinosaur talk anymore. And so that's like,
Yeah.
why don't I find you some other people who love dinosaurs the same amount and you can go talk to them? And that doesn't make you a bad parent.
Yeah.
Okay? It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. That does not make you a bad parent. It is okay. And there are resources for that.
Yeah. And if you've not used Outschool before, we'll drop a coupon code for Outschool for you. We are not like when we talk about Funcation Academy, Khan Academy, all that kind of stuff, we are not affiliated with any of these things. We do have an Outschool coupon code that'll give you, I can't keep track, to be honest with you. This just shows how good, how like not influencers we are, right? I think it's $30 off your first purchase. I'm not even sure, but we do get a little brownie point for that one, full disclosure. But yeah, you do too. So you get a nice, you can take couple of free classes at that point for $30 off, if that's what it is. Please don't hold me to it. We should really know, but I don't know. They change things often and we just roll with it. But we'll put the coupon code for you.
Yeah. No, that's it exactly. Okay. So we talked about lots of things and we always wrap up our episode with a weekly mantra for you. So hold on for that. But before we share that, we just want to give a quick reminder that book club, the full official book club, is moving online. We're doing Zoom. And so that's starting this month, in the month of September 2025. We're super excited about this. It does mean that you're not going to get the full in-depth discussion on the books that we're choosing during the Thursday podcast like we had been doing. We will still record snippets, kind of like high points. Sometimes it might be directly from the book, things that we picked from the book. Sometimes it will be kind of like the main topics of discussion, the things that the people in book club discussed about whatever sections we're reading at that time. And we will record that and share that kind of during regular Thursday book club time. But it's not going to be anywhere close to the hour-long in-depth discussion that we have been doing with books in the past. So if you are interested in joining those discussions and having that in-depth conversation, whether you read with us or not, I mean, you might just show up to listen because you want the in-depth discussion. We've moved that over to our Patreon. You can join at just the bookworm level. It's really affordable. There's often a coupon code, so you can check in the show notes and see if there's one for it right now. Or you can join at some of the other levels. They also include book club. But I just want to make sure everyone remembers that the big full book club discussion is moving to Zoom starting this month and going forward, assuming it works well. We'll see. We're trying something new and I'm pretty excited about it. Another chance to community build and find your people and just connect with other progressive secular homeschoolers out there.
Well, and I think the interesting thing too, our first book club selection is written by the guy who founded Khan Academy, Salman Khan. And we already liked Khan Academy. We had done the evaluation of Khan Academy and we thought it was a solid program, et cetera, et cetera. We're only a quarter of the way through the book, maybe so far for book club. I've like slightly fallen in love with the Khan Academy guy, like his vision of education and his intellect and the way he explains things. Like, I'm like, if I didn't love Khan Academy before, oh my goodness, right? I mean, it's been pretty. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll talk about it in the book club. I don't know if you share my thought, but like, I've been super impressed with him throughout the book. So far, it's so good.
Yeah, maybe not quite as in love with him as you are, but I did really enjoy like learning about how he even started Khan Academy, like how
Mhm.
it even became a thing. And yeah, it's been an interesting read so far. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all of that, like we said, we try to wrap up every week with a mantra. We put an actual little mantra image graphic on our social media on Instagram too, especially if that's something that you're like, oh, yeah, I liked that. You can always go there and save it in your feed or whatever. But this week's mantra is remember, there's no magic box for homeschooling. The real magic is in the flexibility to shape learning around your kids and watch them thrive.
True story. So do not be discouraged if you had your heart set on the everything in a fourth grade box, kind of like the bed in a bag from Bed Bath and Beyond back in the day. If that was your homeschool approach, you can still start there if you need to while you sort out details. But overall, do not spend a lot of money on your fourth grade in a box because generally speaking, you'll probably end up making some changes. So like Amanda said, start with the free, start with the cheap and use the resources that are available. We have tons and tons and tons of options out there so that you can really differentiate learning and just make learning amazing where your kiddo is like, hey, can I do this thing? Can I do that thing? Can I learn this thing? I learned this awesome thing. Let me tell you all about it, right? So we can help you get
Yeah.
there. We absolutely can. I will also apologize if there's any wonky editing in today's episode. My Wi-Fi sucks, and I'm super sorry about it, but we're doing our best. Anyway, hope you have an awesome day. Happy homeschooling, and let us know how we can help.
Yeah. Have a great one.